1, 2, 3. Testing. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. Check. Check. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Check. Testing. 1, 2. Check. 1, 2. Can you hear me? Okay. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Check. I'll leave my microphone off till 1 o'clock just so I don't have any extraneous sounds coming, but I just want to check the sound is working. Maybe you're getting a buzzing sound when I turn my microphone off, maybe. I don't know. I flip it on and off so that I don't give extraneous sounds till we get ready to start. But I'll leave it on now. Lights. Leave that light off. No, I'm not using a headset. I usually pick up extraneous sounds from around my studio here and outside my studio, so you may pick up some of that. I thought the buzz might be coming from my computer, which is right next to my monitor here, and I have a webcam microphone that's open, so maybe that's picking up some of the buzz. I don't know. I'll just leave it on and we'll get to it here in a second. Having trouble with my other computer, however. Okay. Okay, start our cameras. Okay, hello again everybody. I'm Larry Hamilton. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel. Thank you for watching today. We're going to do a special painting today. That's one that I've kind of taken on as a challenge, I guess, from some of the folks on one of the websites or Facebook pages that I frequent. And so we're going to do a nice scene here, sort of a marshy, kind of a swamp type scene, but it's a sunrise photo. So I have this photo that's been provided by one of the members of the Bob Ross Appreciation Society. His name is Dennis Coleman, and he found this photo and thought it might be a good thing to try to paint. So several people said, I'd like to paint that, I'd like to paint that, and so I did too. And so I said, well, I will try to paint it and have it on my live channel today. So that's what we're going to do today. I want to show you, we're going to paint it in a portrait format. I'll explain a little bit about that in a minute. But I want to go over to the computer and show you a couple things about the photographs that I did to change the aspect ratio and how I got to this particular composition. So hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm at my computer now, and I want to show you the original photo that Dennis Coleman provided. This is it. It is a very long aspect ratio, I guess I would call it. It's got about a 1 to 1.7 ratio, which doesn't fit typical canvas sizes, at least the canvas sizes I paint on. So I wanted to crop it, so I cropped it down to fit a 16 by 20 canvas. That has a aspect ratio of 1 to 1.25. So this is a much better ratio of a painting. So I basically cropped a little off the top, a little off the bottom. And that's what we're going to use as our image today. And I also then put a grid over it, which, you know, a lot of times I use a 4x5 grid. And that works very nicely on a 16 by 20 canvas. I should add that it's each line is like 4 inches apart. You have 16 inches across the top, so divide that by 4, you get a 4 squares, and then down the side you get 5 squares. So it's a 4 by 4, easy to calculate to make a 5 by 4 pattern. And then you use that grid, as you know, to trace some of your sketch on, if you're going to have a sketch. Unfortunately, much of this is not going to be handled by a sketch, as most Bob Ross painting techniques. He never used a sketch that I saw, so it's hard to do a sketch when you paint the whole canvas with liquid white to start with. So I deviate from that sometimes and work with a sketch, but today I'm going to use a very bare bones sketch that I have. But one thing I do that I know that Bob Ross did not do was I try to break down the photograph into a set of patterns, medium, light, and dark value patterns. And so I go through and take this photo into my Photoshop, and I just sort of kind of lay out what would be a nice set of values for here, and where the darks need to be, and where they need to be connected, and where the mid values should be, and where the light values should be. So this is what I call a value map, and you can get this from my website along with the grid. And I actually have a sketch of it, which is really a photograph of the canvas you just saw, which is not a great photo, it's not a great sketch. Anyway, with that said, I want to go back now to my easel, and let's get started on this. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the paints and brushes, and we'll get going. Okay, I'm back. I want to tell you that the two groups that I'm a member of on Facebook, there's one called the Wet on Wet Painting Club, and their description of their group says, keeping almighty mountains and happy clouds alive forever for Bob Ross and Bill Alexander. So people that frequent that Facebook page like the wet on wet painting technique, and so there's a lot of photos of paintings posted out there, and they have a lot of discussion about the painting techniques and that sort of thing that Bob Ross used, that Bill Alexander used. The Bob Ross Appreciation Society is the other group that I'm a member of, and their description says it's a group for anything relating to the talented Bob Ross. So anything that anybody has to say or do or copy in terms of Bob Ross and his style, his techniques is welcome on that site. So I frequent both of those groups. They both have a lot of members. So I hope some of the folks are joining me today from one of those groups or each of those groups, and we'll go through the painting today. As I said, this photo came from one of the Bob Ross group members named Dennis Coleman, so I want to thank him if he happens to be watching. Anyway, let's go back now to the my palette, and I want to show you the paints that I have. I'm not using the big Bob Ross palette, but I'm using my this is my standard palette I use for most of my oil painting. It's really portable. I can take it and cover it up and take it with me. My brushes, I have the standard brushes. These are the 2-inch brushes that Bob Ross had. We have a 1-inch brush. I have these round, these are called half rounds, and so they make some very nice the wispy tops of trees. The typical fan brushes, 2 of those. I have 3 riggers here, and I have the trusty old palette knife here that we'll use some today. So those are my brush sets that I have. I may pull out another brush here for some of the fine detail work, but I don't know yet. I also have my palette here. I have a tray of liquid white, and I'm going to cover the whole canvas with that in a second. And then I also have some liquid black that I may use in some spots. I don't know that Bob Ross ever did that either, but for this particular photo, I think it may help us with getting enough dark paints on there. I want to also tell you, some of the folks are keying in from the chat room here. If you type in something through the chat, I will try to read it and welcome you, or say hello to BitToad from Oxford, England, and Karen S. from Germany, I hope. Guten Abend, guten Tag, guten Abend to you. So this is what we're going to do. I want to tell you a little bit about my canvas here. Whoops, I wanted to tell you about the paints. Do the paints first. Sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So I told you about the paints here. On my palette here, I have, well, I don't have a full set of Bob Ross paints. I have a little bit of a limited palette. I have titanium white, I have midnight black, Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, alizarin crimson, cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, Indian yellow, and bright red. And I have a little bit of a Grumbacher paint that I add sometimes called ultramarine violet. So that's the paint. You saw the brushes, talked about liquid white. Let me tell you about my canvas here. I always cover my canvas with gray gesso, usually. This gray gesso is a nice mid-tone. I have a little value bar over here on the side of my easel from black to white, and so this canvas is right about midway. So if you need a color that's darker than mid-tone, it has to be darker than the canvas. If you need a tone that's lighter than the mid-tone, you have to be lighter than the canvas. So that works for painting, except when you cover the entire canvas with liquid white, which we're about to do. So many of my oil paintings, if you look at my other videos, you'll see that I use this as a guide to help try to get values better, make better values in the painting. So I wanted to explain why that's gray, but this is typical gray gesso from the Bob Ross paints that you can buy anywhere. Okay, so let's get going. I'm going to try to cover this whole thing with liquid white right now, and with my big brush, and I want to put on the palette for you so you can see it here with the live broadcast. This is being recorded with 1, 2, 3, 4 cameras. So when this is finished, I always come back and make another follow-up video, re-edit the video, and put another version out on YouTube, so we don't just have the live version from the painting session that we're doing right now. This should be very thin, and if I can see a little bit of the gray gesso coming through, I'll know that I'm probably just about right with the amount of paint that I'm putting on here. Now right in here, we're getting close to the horizon line. So, let's see here, thin. Take a second. I want to make sure I get this. I want to go down just a little more to the horizon, right about here. Hi, Mark. Good to see you, Mark Sidebottom. Oil painting is hard. I see that. Yeah, well, try to take a little bit of the pain and misery out of it for you if I can. And down here, I'm going to come down from the bottom and start going up, because I want this reflectivity from the sky to come up, and it's going to go into this area here, like something like this. So I'm kind of customizing a little bit where I put the liquid white, which is something I do frequently just to sort of maybe remember where things are, or things I don't want to forget. All right, so let's look at that. All right, now we have, move my easel over just a little bit, take me out of the painting here. I'm doing this for the live class so I can leave my palette over on the right side here and it's not covering any of the painting. I'm going to touch just a little bit of this liquid black. I'm going to try something very different here. Right in this area, we're going to put in some liquid black, and we're going to just sort of let it blend as we go up. And then we're going to take it down, sort of do the same thing. Take a little more here and just sort of let it blend. I got a lot of white in my brush. It's kind of coming out here. You can see that. But this really darkest part here is going to be the horizon, and so we're going to let this thing bleed into the colors below, and we'll have a nice, interesting layout here of this scene. All right, I don't know if you've ever seen Bob Ross do that. Maybe so. If you have, I've seen dozens of hours of his videos, but I don't remember. I've seen him use liquid black, not liquid, well, I've seen him use liquid black, but I've seen him use black gesso on the canvas before he starts painting, and sometimes he'll use that to do a swamp scene or a night scene or something like that, but I don't know that I've actually seen him mix liquid black and liquid white at the same time on the canvas like this. Okay, the sound is great. Olivia says the sound is great. That's good. All right, so that's our thin coating of liquid white and liquid black. So I want to get this brush cleaned out a little bit. I'll just put it into my cleaner there. Have another brush if I need to use it. Okay, so now we're going to start on the sky. We're going to start at the back, as we always do, and we're going to start coming down. I'm going to get some liquid white now, and titanium white, and a little bit of yellow ochre. Don't need much. Yellow ochre. We're going to start with this background. I'm going to put just a touch, way too much, put just a touch of bright red in there to make it a little orange. Here. More ochre. So you can see the color I'm trying to get is this color that's in the sky back here. Wouldn't have to match it perfectly, but I want to try to get it fairly close. And we're going to just start up here and start coming across. That's a little bit too pink. Put a little more ochre in it. And I'm picking up that white that's underneath, right? So it's making everything lighter. But there was a pink tone to this sky a little bit. I don't know if you recognize that or realize that, but this is just almost pure yellow ochre. And put a little bit of, change the color a little bit, put a little bit of the Indian yellow in there as we get closer to the sun over here. Ochre, Indian yellow, just a touch of bright red in there in some spots. Okay, so I'm just doing my X's, and it's looks darker here on the canvas than it does for you. I've got some bright lights shining on me here, and it lightens up what you see on the video, I'm sure, a little bit, but just want to make this, add a little color in here, add the pinks. So this sun is, to be careful here, I don't want to get too, and I don't, right now, if you look at that, it looks like I've almost cut this canvas in half, and the horizon should be above that, shouldn't be that far down. So I'll bring the black up here in a minute, and we'll start moving up here. I see some hairs I'm picking up, so I'll see if I can get those out. Really no clouds to speak of in this sky. It's all pretty much ochre over white, a little bit of Indian yellow in there, and that's about it. Okay, so now let's take a second, look at this. All right, now I've got to put my sun like right about in, I think the sun's going to go right about here, right about in there. I want to, well, I've got this yellow going, well, I've got this in my brush, I want to come down and put the same color down here in the foreground in the water. So I'm getting more ochre, more Indian yellow, and we're going to start about where this break point is here. And we're going to just kind of paint it down this way, a little bit more ochre, Indian yellow, touch of red, not much. Bring it down here. Okay. I have to make sure this is level. One of the things that, because I paint to the side and I don't stand in front of the canvas, I have to be careful my lines don't go at an angle. So I want to try to make sure that doesn't happen. All right, here we go. I'll put in a few more spots of this bright yellow. All right, I think that's going to work pretty well. All right. I can see my, behind me I have a monitor behind me, and I can check to see what the color looks like there. What I want to try to do now is get this sun in, and a big hair right there. So right about in this area here, we're going to use the old paint me a sun trick. You've seen Bob Ross do that many times probably if you watch his videos. Put a little more paint on there. Draw a little circle. Try to make it as round as possible. In this case, I'm going to have another little spot down about right here where this is going to reflect in the water. It's going to be about right in here. It doesn't have to be quite as bold or it's perfect, but let me see if my brush is cleaned out here. A big old brush. Okay, let's see here if we can get, take this brush, I've cleaned it out. This is the one I had my colors in a while ago, and I'm going to just come back and just sort of give a nice soft, like this. Okay. Down here, a similar thing for right now. Just give it a, just like that. Okay. Hope you're able to see that pretty well. All right. Now, where are we? All right. Now it's time to start coming in with some of these darker colors. Start putting those trees in the distance, in the middle ground. And I'm going to use my round brushes for those. Get this 1-inch brush cleaned out. Get going here. All right. Well, so far I keep dropping my paper towel here. All right. Big round brush. We're going to use that to get these trees in the background, and I'm going to use a mixture of midnight black and my white, titanium white, and try to get a nice grayish color. I don't have any blue on this palette, don't have any green on this palette, but I want this to be darker at the bottom and I want it to fade up the top. So I'm going to start down here close to the horizon. I'm going to start in this area and I'm going to work my way up. So when I do that, what happens is that it gets lighter, because as I'm stamping it in, it's going to lighten up. So let's start about somewhere in here maybe. Need more black, need more white. All right, let's get plenty of paint in this brush. So plenty of paint. So I'm still able to get the colors coming through the sky. Yes, Olivia, oil painting is much easier to blend than acrylics. Yeah, acrylics, because the way they dry, you know, they're water-based, but they also dry fairly quickly, so you have to be right on top of them to do much blending at all if you want to blend with acrylics. But here the paint stays wet, and we can keep going over it. That's what's nice about this wet in wet, wet on wet painting method. I'm going to come all the way over here and just finish this out. We've got a whole bunch of trees over here. I'm just using pure midnight black and some titanium white together, mixing them and getting different values, getting darker values at the bottom here, putting lighter values at the top where I connect these to the horizon line here. I want it to be darker. Because of that liquid white underneath, it does wash out a lot. But I can always come back and put more on. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Okay, so you see the depth. I'm creating depth now. I got the sky, I got some lighter trees in the back, I got some little darker trees in front of those, so that shows you anytime you can do that, you're creating another, what did Bob Ross call it? Another plane, P-L-A-N-E. And when you do that, you're creating depth in your painting. So think about that when you're trying to layer your paints onto a canvas. All right, so I've got some big trees in here in front, but I'm going to just kind of leave this the way it is, I think, right now. Maybe just a little bit more out here. This looked like it was a little bigger than I had shown it. All right, a little darker over here maybe. So that's our first pass at the middle ground. Now we've got this dark line in there. It's really a some sort of an outcropping of some kind here. It's I'm not sure. It's probably just I don't know, like probably not a sandbar, but it's probably just weeds growing and stuff that's taking up space in this lake or swamp, whatever it is. I don't know how much of this is going to work, but I'm going to try it. So you're getting to see me. I haven't done this painting before, folks. I don't know if I told you that before, but I'm using some of this violet. I'm going to come right in here and just see if I can put in a few marks across here to put in this dark background. I'm using my violet and midnight black and a little of my brown. And we're just going to put in some horizontal streaks here. It makes this background work. Now there, I think I went up a little bit, or maybe I didn't. See here. Feels like I went up, but I didn't, I guess. Get it in there, and then we'll make a few more spots here and there. Okay, so that is at least some of the something to work with. I may come back and put a little more in there, but I'm going to take this and just kind of pull it down, and we're going to get this still water feel. This is what makes the water look like it's not moving. Vertical brush strokes, right? That looks like a very, very calm, serene area. And I'm going to add just a little more white to that because I want it to lighten up just a little in some spots. So I'm going to come down here and put maybe that'll work, maybe it won't. Put in a few lighter streaks here to lighten it up just a little. Make it darker on that side, maybe a little lighter on this side. I can pull down some of this color I've got in the background there. See how nice that looks when you just pull down these vertical streaks. All right, we're making progress here, folks. Good, good. Well, I got my big brush here. I'm going to, it's cleaned out. I cleaned it out a while ago, so I'm going to use it to put some horizontal marks across here again to just sort of smooth that out. This looks almost too many vertical streaks. It looks kind of contrived. I want to just, the term for this is 2 hairs and some air. There you go. All right, so that helps it blend much nicer, and you don't have to worry too much about it. So instead of putting in some white streaks in there, which Bob Ross would always take his palette knife and put some white paint on it, we'll probably come in and take some of this black or brown, Van Dyke brown or black, get a little roll of paint and just come in and maybe do the same kind of thing he would do when he put the white streaks in there. We'll put some of these dark little areas here if I can get them to work. Need more paint than that, folks. Got to get something on the end of the knife. Like that. There we go, something like that. What's that look like? If I don't like it, I can always come back in here and just sort of redo it. But right now I'm going to just put in a few of these and see if that will work. Okay, touch that up a little bit there. All right, it looks like some land or something back there. It's part of this lake anyway, that's for sure. All right, now let's take our script liner, get some thinner in it, more thinner than that. All right, let's get put some trees in this background here. There are some trees. They're very hard to see, and they're fairly light. But I want to put some in back here in this area, so you can't hardly see that. I can hardly see that. So I'm just taking some black in this with a lot of thinner in it. Sometimes I stop talking, or I think, because I'm trying to use left brain, right brain at the same time, and takes a little bit of work to do that sometimes. But that's what I like this. This is fun. I see several people don't like acrylics. Huh? Well, that's why the art paint manufacturers make all these different paints, folks, so we can all have something we like. So I'm just putting a few more things in here to make it look like there's some little light things floating around back in there. All right. Now those are light. Now I'm going to come in with a little darker. Now I'm going to come in on top of those. I'm going to put in some more darker trees. And these trees are going to go probably down to this area here. Let me see. Yeah, about here's where the bottom. I want to make sure I get this at the right place. So like right in here somewhere, we got this big old tree. It kind of goes up like that. Don't have enough paint in this brush. That's what sometimes I'll use other brushes than the Bob Ross brushes. Particularly when I'm doing something like this, I want to get more paint in a brush. I might need a different type of brush. So these kind of go up like that. Put a few more, a little more in there. Like this, come back. Another thing I can tell you, a little trick I've learned, when you're making branches on trees, think about painting in the way in the hands of a clock. If you think about painting branches on a tree like this, you want them to go out like this. You don't want them to all stick sideways. You want them to go out at an angle, as if it was like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, that type of thing. If you do that, you'll get them flaring out at the right angle. And so let's just put a few more in here like this. I'm losing this paint because it's not thin enough in some cases. It's picking up the paint underneath it, and we've got some other trees that start down here at the bottom like this, go up. I'm going to make sure I get this thick enough so you can see it. It's a little bit too light there in some spots, isn't it? Let's put a little more dark in there. All right. And we'll come back and put a few more things on top of this. Do these while I'm here. Got some more trees. There's another one or two. There's another big one here. I'm going to come down about the same spot and try to make him go in here like this. And while I've got this, let's put another little one in here. Like that. So these are just trees that are kind of growing out of the marsh, out of the swamp or whatever. And they all have these sort of branches going off of them. Some are going more vertical than others, but in every case they're coming out. And I don't want to put all these in here, folks. If I did, I'd be here for a couple days putting all this in. But this is not supposed to be a total realistic view of the painting of the photograph. I'm trying to just give you the impressions that it gives me as I'm painting this stuff here. It's really kind of fun to be impressionistic with it and kind of let it flow. Okay. Okay. Mark asking something about black oils. I guess you mean the liquid black, maybe, Mark? I'm not sure if that's what you were talking about there or not, but black oil paint, the Bob Ross color is called Midnight Black, but it turns gray and it has some other colors in it. When you get anything in it, it really lightens up really fast. But there are other black oil paints that are blacker. There's lamp black, there's ivory black. A lot of those are, they have a blacker consistency, I guess I want to say, than maybe these. All right, there's some trees there. I'm gonna put some more. There's a couple of them that are sticking in this section out here. Get me some more thin this down a little bit. In this area here, I've got some trees that are sort of sticking up in this area, like right here. I'm going to just sort of connect one to this branch that I made there. There we go. Okay. So you're watching me struggle with this as you might struggle, because I've never done it before. I did find out in reading or listening to Bob Ross's biography on his Facebook or his YouTube channel that he typically did every painting about 2 or 3 times. Every painting that he did, he always had one off camera saying there that he was looking at. So when he said, let's put this little cabin in here, let's put this little tree there, he already knew what he was going to do because those paintings were already done, and he was just sort of copying what he saw down at the bottom of the screen there. And that's fine. There's no problem with that. Everybody likes to see something to look at, and I'm sure that being on camera like that, trying to get done in 27 minutes or whatever it was it took him, was something that not everybody could do very easily. Okay, so I've got some reflections here. Get some more of this paint and kind of come down here like this. Okay. Reflections are below all of these at this water level here, where the water is, like this. That one here that goes a little bit that way. Okay, so hopefully you can tell where the water is and where the reflections start, hopefully. All right, now let's keep moving on over here. We're getting to this area on the right side where I've got another big tree. I don't know if I can change the color of that or not. I'd like to change a little bit, but one of the things that I talk about periodically is what cameras do to photographs. When you get a photograph like this, these trees are black. I mean, they're just totally black because of the silhouette, because the sun is shining right into the camera lens, and when it does that, it shuts down the light, and it makes these things in silhouette look black. So, but if you were there, you would not be seeing black. You would be seeing some other color with brown in it, maybe. See, there's a lot. This is another case where there's 1,000 branches sticking out here, and to paint impressionistically, you don't need to paint every branch. You just need to let people see that there's a lot of branches here, and so that's kind of what I'm doing here. And we've got 2 or 3 more over here. They all come down to this same area down here, like that. Small paper towel here. All right, let's see. More. Need more thinner paint. Got to get more thinner on top of this. I'm not doing a very good job reading your comments on the chat window there. I'm having to concentrate quite a bit on these trees right now, so I hope I'm not missing, or don't want to offend anybody for not reading their comments or questions. If you have a question that you've put in the chat window and I haven't read it, it's probably scanned or scrolled on by and I missed it, just because I'm over here spending a lot of time trying to get these final trees in. Needs to be darker in there. Come on, dark paint. All right. Bunches of, maybe put some more branches out here like this. So we've been going about 35, 40 minutes, something like that. These are all going to sort of reflect down into the water somehow. Put down something like that. We'll come back and go over those in a minute, but let's put that in. I could fine-tune this a lot more if I wanted to spend a lot more time on it. I just kind of feel like I need to move on. I'll put you guys to sleep. I'm going to put some light. I'm going to use my big round brush and tap in some light branches up there, light bushiness in a second. So there's that. All right, now we're at this area where we've got this right in here. We've got some junk that's kind of laying in the water across here like this. Let me get a little bit of this brush and we'll just put in some like this. There's some things flicking up, growing up out of the water here. don't even think you can see that hardly. It looks like it when I turn around and look at the monitor, I don't see much back there. But let me see if I can make it stand out a little better for you. I'm just pulling up on these on this brush to sort of make it look like we've got not a bank, but it's the water level there where I want these things to show up, and then below that is where we're having the reflection come down here. Try to dry my brush out and see if I can pull a little bit of this down like this. See, this is how you get those reflections. Come down and pull them down like that. Pick up a few darks, pull them down here. Vertical brush strokes, folks, is what does it, what makes it look like still water. See how nice that looks? Okay. All right, so it's looking pretty decent for the amount of time we spent on it. All right, let's see here now. Well, I've got this big round brush. I'm going to come back into some of these colors I had a while ago and put some tops on these trees here before I leave this area. I want them to be maybe a little darker because they are closer, so let's don't forget that. Turn the brush, turn your hand. Don't make them all the same angle. Okay, get plenty of darker paint on the brush and get that paint in there, and then just touch it. Just touch it. Very light. There's not much of that. Most of them are all sort of fallen off the trees. Oops, I'll try this way here. Using the side of the brush, pushing up a little bit. Get some nice branches if you sort of push up once in a while. Don't want to do a lot of that, but just enough. Here, just put some more over here. Gotta get some other colors in there. I'm getting too following the photograph a little bit too much. Okay, let's get this. So I got some. If you want to get these spread out, you just kind of pound it down on the palette there and spread these bristles out so they make thousands of marks instead of one or two. See how I did that? Look at the palette now. I'll just take this, and once you pick up this paint, you get the bristles together like that. You don't want them together. You want them spread. So pound it. Once you do that, you get them spread like that. I don't know if you can see that well, but that gives you 500 little brush points there that you can tap. Over here, a few more. I got to get some darker stuff right here. There we go. All right. I think you can get that, catch that pretty well. A few more over here maybe. Let's see. All right. That's awfully close to what we're trying to get. I'm going to put some of that down here actually, and I'm going to kind of duplicate some of that here and down here by just tapping in some of these same types of things like this. And then what do? We take our big brush, clean it out, make sure there's no paint in it, and come back and just very lightly come across here and give ourselves some blending, very, very light blending. Okay. So that's the scene, that's the water line. I've got a couple things missing though, right? I don't have my bird in there. And so that's really what's left. Now that bird was actually in about right here by this tree, very close. So now we'll see how we're going to do that. I'm going to get another script liner here. You guys watch Clive 5 Art or whatever it is, art videos? Yeah, Mark? Yeah, Clive and I and another artist had a collaboration series going on was it last summer? No, we'd all put up a challenge for each other, and we all had to paint either the same thing or same topic or something like that. I have some videos, I think it was 2016 where 17 maybe, I don't know. I have to look back in if you look in my playlist on my YouTube channel, you'll see a playlist that says collaboration videos. Those are ones I did with Clive and another artist, and we all shared that on each other's channel. All right, so here we're going to use almost pure titanium white here for this bird. We're going to put him like right about here, and we're going to make him like a kind of like a fence post almost, is what I could think of a while ago when I was thinking about this. I'm going to make this bird. It needs to be a little bigger than that, maybe not. I'm making his body right now. And you don't have to put this bird in if you don't want to mess with it. Don't mess with it. But it was in there, and it was part of the scene, and it's sort of talking about the theme of waiting for breakfast. This bird is sort of sitting here waiting. Waiting for something to happen. If I can get it right here. It's not going on exactly like I wanted it to, but the thing of it is we can always repaint this thing if we have to. I need a little heavier paint. This liquid white does do a number on your canvas. Let's make him a little bigger. All right. Let's think about that for a minute. Come back and put a little bill on him right here. Can't see that. Got to be darker than what's behind it or you won't see it. So let me go get some Midnight Black here and put a I don't know if you can see that at all either. It's kind of small, but the scheme of things, it kind of helps tell the story. Eye. Not great, but I can always repaint this thing if I need to. So he's just kind of sitting here waiting for something to happen. And what he doesn't know is there's a surprise down here in the water. I do a little nose. And looks like a log, but it's actually an alligator, folks. We got this guy's waiting for breakfast too. So we'll put a couple little ripples around him, kind of indicate there's some water movement maybe here. He's moving. This guy is not sure what's going on over here. Put a little more of that distinct, make that a little more distinct back here with the bank. I can come back and I'm going to come back and touch that up a little bit, but I wanted to see if I can put an alligator in here. He's just coasting right there. If I didn't tell you what it was, you'd think it was a log, maybe. I don't know. But a few more reflections. We could have a few more trees in here, a few more bushes and branches and stuff floating around here. There's a bunch of junk in this area. And let's get this brush and put a few more there we go, some of that here. And we'll pull a little bit of this down. Make this guy fit in with the water a little bit better. Okay. Well, that's a good try, I think. I hope you like that. I didn't really like how this bird came out very well. It doesn't look like the kind of bird that I saw in the photograph, but make him a little bigger, I don't know. Okay. Okay, you can't see that very well, I don't think, but it's not the greatest bird I've ever made. But nevertheless, he's there, and I think somebody asked a question about using water-soluble oils. Yes, I've tried those, and they work. There are some nice ones out there. They do leave a little bit different gloss on the canvas when you're done with them, but they do work, and they look. I think you can still get better sheen or better looks with pure oils than you can with water-soluble, but that's sort of my own bias, I think. But if you don't want the toxicity. However, I think a lot of people think that oil paints are very toxic. I think over the years the toxicity has been removed from most of the oil paints. I don't think, other than maybe cadmium colors, most all the oil paints have no warnings on them anymore. They're not really as toxic as they used to be. Put a few more things in here. There's some stuff in things growing out here that are in the water. So this is a fairly low level. Let me see if I can put a few more dark. This is really not quite dark enough down here. Ooh, that's a little too dark, but let me put another. I'm about finished here, folks. If you're tired of watching, you can tune me out, but I wanted to try to get this as close to the values as I can in the photograph. There we go. I think I like my alligator better than I like my bird over there. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to take this and try to get some of this out of there. Again, just very quickly give it that. All right, I think that's gonna about do it for me. Come over here and get a little bit of my black color here, and I'll throw my name on here, and we'll call this finished. Get a little more black than that. Okay, I think that's about it, folks. Not too bad for a live broadcast where I can't stop and start and let it dry and need a reflection of the bird. Thank you, Lindy. Good peck, good catch. Didn't get much reflection of that sun either. I got a little reflection of that sun, but I could use more. You're right, good point. A few more streaks down here. You see anything else I'm missing? Please let me know. Use my big brush again. Just touch it. Just touch it. There we go. We're getting that's looking better. This alligator is coming over. Okay, folks, if you're interested in any of these wet-on-wet painting challenges or discussion, check out those Facebook page, both Bob Ross Appreciation Society and the Wet-on-Wet Painting Club. They're both private groups, so you have to ask to be a member, but they let everybody in pretty much, I think. I don't think there's very few restrictions, but it's a fun group to be a part of. So anyway, I think I'm going to stop with that and say thank you for watching. I've had myself in this painting a lot more than I like to be in a painting, but because of the nature of the vertical painting format, this portrait format, it's hard to keep me out of the painting, so out of the video actually. So anyway, I think that's all I want to say for now. You can get the original photo and the grid photo and the value map on my website. Not the grid, but the value map and the sketch, such as it was, on the website. The links will be below this video. And check out my Facebook page and my website. And let me know how you do if you give this painting a try. I hope you get a chance to try it and have some fun with it. And so I think until I see you next time, that's all I want to say for now. This is Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Goodbye. My bird looks pretty sad. Just see some of the trees here, maybe. Whoops. There we go, right there. All right. All right, folks, sorry I didn't get to spend much time talking to you on the chat window, but I was kind of more preoccupied than I have been with other paintings. But please send me a message on my Facebook page or on my website if you have any questions I didn't answer, and I'll be glad to chat with you there, let you know what comments I have, and so be glad to do that. All right, I'm going to stop streaming now. Let's see, I'm going to look at that. I don't know, Mark, if you're still on here, Mark Sidebottom. I actually, when we had the collaboration competitions between Clive and myself and another artist whose name I can't think now, I did watercolor, Clive did acrylics, and the other artist I think did oil. So we each had our own little thing that we did, and it was a lot of fun. We had some good times with that. Got a lot of picked up a lot of new subscribers, I think, and people enjoyed to see the competition and see our different channels and that sort of thing. So it was a fun time. Okay, I'm going to stop streaming now, so I'll see you next time. Thanks.